Welcome back. You're watching CNN News Center live from Hong Kong. Now, after 17 days of competition with 2,800 competitors, the curtain finally came down on the Winter Olympics on Sunday. It ended with a bang. Fireworks lighting up the sky over Sochi after games that the world has been talking about for all sorts of different reasons. Now, the Russian organizers hope that they will be remembered for the thrilling performances, not the politics that surrounded the event even before it got underway. Now, let's go live to Russia and CNN's Amanda Davies. And Amanda, let's first talk about that grand finale. It was at times very funny, in fact. Tell us more about the closing ceremony.
Hi, Christy. Yeah, it was the kind of closing ceremony you would have expected from the most expensive Olympic Games in history. It had a bit of everything. It was titled Reflections of Russia. I was lucky enough to be inside the fished arena with 39,000 others. We were all given flashing medals to have our own little part in what was going on, that helped the light display around the proceedings. And it really had a bit of everything. Some epic, spine-tingling music, some ballet, some art, even the circus, and as you mentioned, a bit of humour as well. There was a fantastic moment that surprised a lot of people sitting there when hundreds of children dressed in shimmering costumes came out and formed the 5 Olympic rings, but they didn't. They formed just 4 Olympic rings, and they played on that moment from the opening ceremony when the 5th ring failed to open. So it was a very warm, funny moment that many say wouldn't maybe have happened ahead of this Games. Russia taking a little bit of a pop at itself, but it was very well received. And President Putin, who was there watching on very proudly, couldn't really have written it any better. As is traditional, the final medals of the Games are awarded at the closing ceremony. And it was a Russian 1-2-3 from the men's 50-kilometer cross country. So for an extra time in the ceremony, we had the Russian anthem playing out, the blue, white and red flags flying high, and it was a very emotional ceremony, not just for the Russians involved and around, but I have to say I got pretty emotional after the last 17 days being part of it. And I'm not sure I'm allowed to say it, but I would argue maybe the closing ceremony here, for me, was better than the one in London in 2012.
Oh, that's incredible to hear. And if indeed true, and many people agree with you, then well played, Sochi, indeed. Now, from the perspective of the athletes, for them, what made Sochi and the competition stand out?
I think a lot of them have stories to tell about the hotels. That's not necessarily what the organisers want to hear, but we had the Johnny Quinn, the US bobsled incident, when he had to break out of his bathroom door. We had a British athlete who nearly fell down an empty lift shaft. So a few of them have stories to tell like that. But I think on the whole, the overriding feedback from the athletes is that they've really enjoyed the Games. The setting is fantastic, very un-Winter Olympian. I mean, we're standing here in glorious sunshine today, and they've been able to enjoy that. Julia Mancuso, she went surfing in the Black Sea and then went on to compete up in the mountains in the snow. I think there have been some complaints about the snow and the courses, but that isn't unusual in terms of Winter Games. Every Games wants to make their courses and their runs tougher or more spectacular than Games beforehand. And the Russian organisers were very open to receiving the feedback from the athletes after the practice sessions. They did change a few things around, and so I think the athletes will be going home happy. And of course, what's been great about this medal at this Games is we've had a few first-time medalists, and we've had some of the great veterans as well coming back with great stories to tell.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Despite all the talk about the Ring of Steel and, of course, those early hotel horror stories, in the end, a high point. Some great sport, great memories, and, of course, closing on a high point as well with the closing ceremony. Amanda Davies there joining us live from Sochi. Thank you so much for that update and for all your reports all along. Now, there were definitely cheers and some tears